Hi guys, and welcome to another video. And this video comes from my live last night. So last night I was off work unintentionally. Something happened and I had to have the night off. And I just decided to go live. And there's a clip from my live. It's quite a lengthy clip, but there's a part of my live that I think is going to be beneficial, or maybe a story that some people need to hear. A lot of people know my story, etc. But it's always good if someone asks about it, to obviously talk about it. So there is a clip of my live last night that is this week's video. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you find something in there that maybe helps you or you find interesting. And yeah, that's the reason that I'm posting this part. I was live for about 70 minutes, but a lot of it is probably not going to be any use or not that interesting. But there is part of the live that someone might find interesting. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. After the video ends, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. And yeah, I'll see you again next week. Hope you enjoy the video. Hi, KM. It has been a while. It has been a while. I assume that you're the same. Was it KM that you used to be on? Quite a while back that you used to do lives, etc. This is the one thing that I always said about Terry, is that that when I first turned up to training, Cooper had nothing in our first training session. So he set it up. So Terry set it up that there was me and Coop, and then to my left, probably 10 yards away, there was Rico. That's it. So you had me and Coop on one side. And then he had Shane and his dog on the left. And his dog was a proper protection line, not a properly hard dog. And Terry would go over to Shane and his dog would be frothing, wanting to take a lump out of Terry, etc. And then Cooper would be watching that, and then Terry would come over. And basically, Terry put a tea towel and laid it on Cooper's face. See if I can do it now. Give me 1 sec. Alright. See if I can do it now. Coop, over it. Coop, here. Sit. So in our first session, Terry could literally do that with Coop, and that's pretty much how he reacted. That was our first session. So literally, Terry would come over, try and antagonise Coop, and he'd literally lay a tea towel over Cooper's face, and Coop would just stand there and be like, "What are you doing?" And then obviously Terry would take the towel off. And it was at that point. Wait, shush. It was at that point that Terry said to me, "Look, Coop, enough. Ollie, do not start him off." It was at that point that Terry turned around to me and said, "Look, Cooper's not got what we need in him," and rightly so. But over the next sort of month of going to training, doing stuff at home, Cooper started to show signs of being able to do a standoff. So Terry would stand in front, I'll be able to have Cooper in front of me barking, and there wouldn't be loads of pressure on Coop. Like, he wouldn't come in to try and attack Coop, or he wouldn't come in to try and get to me, etc. But I'll be able to have Cooper as a standoff. So that took about probably a month, 6 weeks, probably about a month in order to do that. And it's at that point that Terry was like, "Okay, I think that there's something here that we can kind of work with." And there's videos of Cooper. Probably 3 months into training, where the trainer's got a bite pillow, and Cooper would be on the bite pillow. It would come out, and then the decoy would walk towards Coop, and Coop would hide behind me. And they was like, "Okay, that's too much. We'll go back a bit, and then we'll come forwards a little bit slowly." And probably over 5 months. It wasn't until about that 4 or 5 month period that Coop would not back down to someone coming forward. So this is what I've said about Terry. Like, if I'd taken Cooper to not any other trainer, if I'd taken Cooper to a different trainer, there's a good chance that they would have wrote Cooper off right at the start and said, no, he's not got anything. We're not going to be able to work with that. You need to go out and buy another dog. Terry gave me the opportunity and said, right, we're going to work on this he gave me a month. He said, look, I'll give you a month for 6 weeks. We'll see what we can do. We'll see where we are, and then we'll make a decision from there. He didn't make a decision on one assessment day, because he knew the backstory of my dog being a pet, etc. So he knew that obviously I had suppressed, and I told Coop that you can't bark at people, you can't bite people, and all that sort of stuff. I told Cooper that you're not allowed to do that. So obviously now, after 18 months of me saying to him, look, you can't do that, you can't bark at people, you can't be threatening towards people, I'm now saying, no, you can do that. And the dog's not going to switch on to that in a 15-minute scenario. The dog's not all of a sudden going to switch on to that. Like, it's not going to happen. So it took me a month before Cooper would bark and be a little bit threatening towards someone in front of us. But it probably took 5 months for Cooper to not back down when someone come in with a sleeve or someone come in with a bite tug. It probably took me about 4 to 5 months in order to get that. And yes, it was a lot of hard work, and yes, it was a lot of work outside of training. But Terry gave me the opportunity to do that, and like I said, there's lots of trainers that if I'd gone to would have turned around automatically and said, no, not happening, don't bother bringing this dog again. So sometimes it is just the trainer, whether the trainer believes in their own ability that they might be able to get out of it, whether the trainer just wants an easy time and is like, oh, I can't be asked to put 4 months of work into this dog. Terry was open to me putting 4 months of work into this dog to see if we could get him to where he needs to be. And after 6 months, look, he wasn't the complete dog. He wasn't the most aggressive dog. He wasn't like the best dog you're ever going to see on sleeve, but he was good enough in order to pass a NASDO. Everything that we needed for him to be able to tick off on a NASDO, he could do. And now, obviously, with more training and obviously continuation training that I've been putting in over the last sort of 3 years, etc., he's obviously a lot better than he was. Is he now a top dog? Is he now one of the best dogs you've ever seen on a sleeve? Probably not, but he does the job that I need him to do. He doesn't back down from anything. If someone comes forwards, he will go on the sleeve. He will bite. He bites a covert sleeve. Is his bite on the covert sleeve the best you're ever going to see? Possibly not, but he will do it. Will he? Do I think that he will do enough that I will be able to protect myself in a situation? I think possibly yes. Until that real life scenario happens, you can never say 100% yes or no. But like I say, you say the trainer didn't even give her a chance, which really peed me off. Yeah, like I say, sometimes I think you have to get the right trainer, and sometimes trainers don't want to put the work in. Some trainers do want to put the work in. I know someone that went to to do their NASDO, etc., with a Malinois that, let me assure you, given half the chance, would try and take a lump out of you. And he took this Malinois, to his NASDO course, and they passed him on the NASDO, but they wouldn't pass the dog on a team certificate. What they said to him was, look, we'll buy the dog off you. You buy one of our dogs. So we'll buy the dog off you for 500 quid. We'll sell you one of our dogs for £1,000, and then we'll team certify you and the dog. And he spoke to me, and I said, absolutely not. I said, right, get your NASDO with them, come and see Terry, and because you can get your team certificate with any trainer. And like I said earlier, they may want to see you for 4 sessions, but you can get your team certificate with a different trainer to the person who passes you as a NASDO handler. And he come down for 1 session, and Terry got the sleeve out, put the sleeve there, and the dog went wallop and took a lump out of the sleeve. And Terry was like, nothing wrong with this dog whatsoever. Do I think it was a ploy that they wanted to buy a Malinois for 500 quid and get rid of one of their other dogs and earn 500, well, and earn basically £1,000 out of it? Yes. So I think you just have to be careful with everything. But like I say, some trainers will accept one. Some trainers will accept one level, other trainers will accept another level, but sometimes I feel like there's some dodgy stuff going on somewhere. Kev, evening. I'm doing my dog handler course in September. Congratulations. But it's just me doing it. How do I get my dog passed so that we can work together? So if you so there's a couple of different ways in which you can do it. So the test is obviously two parts. So you have sort of the theory side, which is your side. So you obviously have you have to go through the book and then do your two tests. So you at the end you get two 40-question tests, one about being a security guard, one about being a dog handler. You pass them, so therefore you now become a security dog handler or NASDO security dog handler, which means that you are capable of doing the job. The team certificate is the practical side of that. That is having a dog doing sort of the search work, etc. So in terms of if it's just you doing it, how do you get your dog passed? You will need to go to a NASDO trainer, and you'll be able to turn up to them and say, look, I've got my NASDO, I just need to do a team certificate. They may want to see you for maybe 3 or 4 sessions before they do it. But you'll need to go to a NASDO trainer or NASDO certified trainer, do some sessions with them, and then they will be able to give you your team certificate. And basically what that will be, I'll put it in the van the other day. So when I done my team certificate the other day, they wanted to see my dog in obedience. So they wanted to make sure all my dog's obedience was good. They wanted me to do a recall. They wanted me to do an emergency recall. They had him on a sleeve. We didn't do search work, mainly because the ground that we was working on wasn't great. It was a little bit waterlogged. The part where we done sort of the sleeve work was steady, but sort of the rest of the ground was a bit waterlogged. But the good thing about me doing my videos and that, I could show her a video and say, look, here's a video from a couple of months ago when I was with Terry. This is the standard he's at in terms of doing search. So she can watch that and say, okay, I'm happy with that. She rang Terry anyway and said, look, I've got someone here, explained everything, and Terry turned around and said, oh, is that Michael? And she was like, yeah. He was like, right, everything's good. So yeah, you'll need to, once you have your NASDO, you'll need to take your dog to a trainer and say, look, I need to get this dog team certified. From what I understand, you can work together whilst your dog works towards a team certificate. So for example, I've got Coop, who is my GP dog. He's certified. Me and him have got a team certificate. If I get another dog and I'm taking him to regular sessions, so every month when I take Coop to a session, if I take this other dog and on my paperwork it's got Cooper and let's say Ollie. So on my paperwork it will say I've had Cooper and I've had Ollie. Both of them have been doing training for GP work. That should be good enough. That should be good enough for you to work together until that dog can be certified, because you are going to consistent training, etc. And then when the trainer is happy that you and the dog are safe to work together, he will give you a team certificate. But from what I understand is that you can work with a dog that is in training as long as that dog is going to regular sessions. You can't just pick a dog up and just start working him, because if something happens, they'll want to see training records and different things like that. You can work without a team certificate, from my understanding, if you are going to regular sessions with that dog and that dog is in training in order to get certified. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, you'll need to go to a NASDO trainer if that's who you're going with. Obviously, if you're going with NIP2, then you'll need to go to a NIP2 trainer. But you'll need to go to a certified trainer and speak to them about getting a team certificate. But like I said earlier, if you're doing your NASDO course, your handler course with company A, you can still get your team certificate with company B in terms of trainer. So yeah, I hope that helps. So what's Cooper? Big softy. You went training. So what's Coop, a big softy before you went training, as my girl seems to be a big baby? Yeah, Coop was as soft as anything. Like Coop wouldn't bark at someone. If someone agitated him, if they cracked a whip on the floor, if they flicked something in his face, he wouldn't bark. He would just stand there and just accept it. He'd kind of just stand there and just be like, what's going on? I have no idea what you're doing. But he wouldn't bark. He wouldn't go forwards. If someone run at us, he would back off. Like Cooper, when we first went to training, had none of what he has now. Now, if someone cracks a whip, if someone is a little bit threatening towards us, and I put Cooper out in front, he will not back down. If they run at us, he'll bite them. That's something that happens in scenarios with sleeves, etc. Is that someone will be kind of talking and they'll be kind of relaxed around, and then all of a sudden they'll kick up a little bit, and then they'll run at me. And as they run at me, Coop grabs hold of the sleeve, and then all of a sudden Coop's on the sleeve and he's doing his job. So yeah, Coop was a massive softie when I first went there, but that's what I trained him to do, because for 18 months I wanted him to be a pet. And when my mate comes round, I don't want Cooper to do a standoff. I don't want Cooper to be threatening towards them. So that's the way in which I train him. So in terms of, had my training before worked? Yes, because I wanted to make him a reasonable softie. Obviously, being at home and being somewhere else is completely different, but I wanted to make him a bit of a softie because I didn't want him to be threatening when people come around the house. So everything that I'd done, we had to try and reverse. So yeah, Cooper was a massive softie when I first started. Michael, if you ever decide you want to start training dogs, please let me know, as I would like you to work with my Emily, as she's very disobedient and childish, as well as very immature. I assume that you're talking about the. I assume you're talking about the dog. If I ever want to train dogs, never say never. I've actually got some. Hopefully, I've got something coming out with. Hopefully got something coming out with NASDO pretty soon that might explain what my plans are for the future. Would I like to do training one day? Probably. I don't think when I'm in my 50s and 60s I want to be walking around a site for 12-15 hours a night earning my money that way. So it's something that I will look towards, but whether it's going to be in the next few years or whether it's going to be 10 years down the line, I don't know. But yeah, hopefully I've got something coming out with NASDO that might answer some questions. I was going to work and train with my dog with IK9, but that's when they rejected, so she was no good. Like I say, it also depends on the handler as well. So if I didn't have the dedication and the time, I mean, my what's the word? Situation was very unique in terms of I'd done all of this in the pandemic, so we was all locked down. So I had loads of time. I had all the time in the world to do training, etc. So I understand that my situation was very unique. But had you given Cooper to another handler that wasn't going to put in 3 hours of training a day outside of going to training, then Cooper would have got nowhere near the standard that he got to in that first month, in that first 6 months or whatever. So it's not all, it's not always what the capability of the dog is. It's also the dedication and the effort that the handler is going to put in as well. Like I don't blow smoke up my own arse, etc. I'm never going to say that I'm one of the greatest dog trainers, or I wouldn't even say I'm a good dog trainer. But what I did have at that time, and I still have now, is that when I went to a session and Terry said, right, this is what you need, this is the next step, this is what you need to do for the next step, I would quite happily go home. And it wouldn't be a 3 hour training session in one hit, but because we was in lockdown, for like an half hour every now and then throughout the day, is that I would train that sort of stuff. And then by maybe a week or whatever, we would have that more or less down by the time we went back. So because I was putting in the effort, obviously Terry put in the effort as well. So look, yes, Cooper was a big softie. The only reason that we got to where we was because of the hard work I put in. But the only reason that I put that hard work in was because Terry didn't automatically turn the dog away because the dog was going to be hard work, or the dog was going to take 4 months, 5 months to get to a standard. Terry just didn't reject that because he didn't want to do it. Terry was open to giving it a go. Yes, but you are the only one that will talk openly and honestly about things in the canine industry and training. Yeah, I get that. Like, lots of people in the sort of canine, whether that's security dog handling, whether that's sports or whatever it is, they all, that's probably the wrong way to look at it. Some people have an ego that they don't want to show a soft side, they don't want to show a vulnerable side, etc. Look, the only way that I can stay relatable to people that want to get into security dog handling or whatever it is, the only way that I can stay relatable is to share my story in the most truthful way that I can. That way, when people, hopefully, when people are finding it a little bit tough, or they're finding the path a little bit tougher, hopefully they can refer back to me and say, well, okay, well, this guy never had it. Like, I didn't walk into my first session, Cooper nailed Terry and brought him to the ground and dragged him across the floor. Like, that wasn't the case. And look, when I first went in as well, I had no idea. Like, one of the first session that I went to, and we was doing obedience, Terry turned around to me and said, like, right, do you know what safe lead is? And I was like, no. And Terry had to tell me how to hold the lead on day one. So not only did I go there with absolutely no idea of what was going on, Cooper went there with next to no skills. He would have a bit of a tug, but you'd have to make sure he knew the game. Like, if you hold a rope out now and you swing it a bit, Coop just sees that, bangs on it, automatically starts tugging, where you would have to encourage him into the game to start off with before he knew what the game was. And obviously that tug work is a progression into sort of sleeve work. But yeah, I'm quite happy to be open and honest about stuff, because if I turned around and said no, the first session that I turned up, Coop nailed Terry, pulled him across the floor and dragged him over a fence, people would be like, well, why doesn't my dog do that on the first session? My dog on the first session was next to hopeless. Like, if that was a real life situation, he would have carted back and got back in the car and left me to deal with it. So now, through years of training, but even after sort of that first couple of months, he wouldn't turn around and walk away when someone was being threatening. He would be there. But like I said, it took 2 months of probably 2 to 3 hours of training per day, training with Terry maybe once to twice a week. It got a bit obsessive, and it cost me a fair amount of money. It cost me a fair amount of money, but at the time, like I said, it was COVID, furlough. I couldn't go out, I couldn't spend my money elsewhere. So for me, it was spending all that money on on going to training with Terry was the money that I would normally spend going to the pub or going to play golf or whatever it is. So I just invested that money into my future rather than looking at it as just being an expensive way to get into a job. Honestly, needs to be more trainers like Terry. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be like that these days. Yeah, and like I say, unfortunately, Terry has just retired as well, and I've moved on to a new trainer. Now, my new trainer, although her centre's like 45 minutes away from me, she used to train with Terry, so her and Terry were trained by the same bloke. So she used to go to the same training sessions as Terry, and she has similar ideas. She has some different ideas, but she has very similar ideas. But obviously, I don't know whether she would have the same, whether she would give Cooper the same chance if I turned up brand new today than what Terry did. But yeah, I don't like it when someone turns up to one session and their dog is written off straight away, because, like I say, the first session I went to, Terry put a tea towel over the dog's head and he done absolutely nothing. Even 4 months in, when Terry or the decoy come towards us with a bite pillow, Cooper used to hide behind me. So it's not an automatic thing. It's not in every dog. When people buy Rottweilers and German Shepherds and things like that as pets, etc., and think that when someone breaks through their door that the dog is automatically gonna grab them on the arm and pull them out the door and throw them back over the fence. If you haven't trained your dog to do that, then you can't ask the dog to do that. It's a bit like any person. Like, you can train, like, you can have it in you. So let's say Conor McGregor. I don't know if he does, but let's say Conor McGregor has a son. Now, just because he's Conor McGregor's son, that doesn't mean that when he turns 18 that he's going to be able to fight. Like, you might put him into a ring and he might get absolutely hammered. But if Conor McGregor from 10 years old starts putting in some training with him and shows him how to fight and things like that, when he turns 18, yeah, maybe he'll get into a ring and he'll be able to fight. But without putting that training into a dog or a person, you can't just walk into a situation and automatically know what to do. Like, I've watched, I'm not massively into it, but I've watched boxing matches and I've watched people do boxing, etc. But if I walked into a ring with someone that knew how to box or whatever, I guarantee you they would hit me 6 times before I knew what was going on. So you can't expect a dog. You can't take a dog from laying on the sofa, from laying on the floor, from being asleep in the house most days. You can't just take him to an open area, have some geezer come out in a bite suit and a stick and expect the dog to go, oh, I'm meant to bite this geezer, am I? No, the dog will have a fight or flight. If you put me in a boxing ring with someone that knows what they're doing, do you think I'm going to stand there, or do you think I'm going to take a dive or backflip out of the ring? I'm obviously going to take a dive or backflip out of the ring, because if I do try to go toe to toe with them, I'm going to get knocked out. So, like I say, I think that when someone goes there and their dog gets written off straight away, it does annoy me a little bit, because Cooper is proof that you can get that out of them. Now, not every dog is going to be able to do it. I could have maybe another 5 Coopers and maybe only 2 of them would end up actually passing an ASDU. But Cooper is proof that it can be done if you're willing to put in the time, the effort, and different things like that. So I know you like doing YouTube videos. You should do more videos on training. Think you'll get a lot of likes. Everyone likes dog training videos. Yeah, I mean, I've always, in terms of doing sort of dog training videos, the reason that I don't do a lot of them is that I don't have, not qualifications, but I don't have anything behind me to say that what I'm doing has knowledge behind it. And when you're putting training videos out to a platform where there are hundreds, probably thousands of other dog training videos, some with very good trainers, some with people with a lot more knowledge and a lot more know-how than probably what I do, I think that it is it's a tricky one, because you can make yourself look like a bit of an idiot. That's why I like doing that's why I liked doing the patrol training videos, is because I could show you what is going on and my sort of understanding and opinion on it. Now, it was more opinion based, so people could agree or disagree with it, but I think you have to be careful when you're putting videos out on a platform where there are lots of good trainers, that you can get called out on your knowledge pretty quickly. And like I say, in terms of dog training, I've got nothing to back up my knowledge. A lot of my knowledge and a lot of the stuff that I talk about is pretty much, not always the same, but pretty much stuff that I've had chats with Terry about, I've had chats with other trainers, I've had chats with other handlers about. My channel is about helping people get into the industry, and sort of, I'm more of a passer on of information, and I'm open to telling people about stuff that I've done, stuff that I've struggled with, stuff about my journey, etc. And like I say, it's to then start doing training videos with no backing of any form of knowledge is quite risky, and you can get called out on stuff by people that have a lot more knowledge than me. And if someone with a lot more knowledge than me starts calling me out on stuff that I'm doing in terms of training, I can't argue back. I can't do too much. So yes, if I became a trainer and I had a little bit more knowledge and I had something behind me and some proof that I can do this sort of stuff, then yeah, maybe I would do that. But yeah, also I think it's proof with my channel as well, is that I don't put videos out for likes or different things like that. I just put my videos out to what I think is going to be useful for people, and stuff that I can answer questions and have chats to people around. So yeah, I get what you mean, that obviously people do like training videos and different things like that. And the other thing that you have to remember with YouTube as well, is that a lot of people post videos in order to get fans, to get subscribers, to get whatever. Like, a lot of the stuff that I post is not to get some bloke who's a bit of a lunatic to like my video, because that's sometimes that's what it is. Like, when I see security dog training videos and all that, and you've got a dog grabbing someone out of a van and there's smoke bombs going off and things like that's all for the effect of the video. If someone breaks into my site and they start trying to nick a car, I'm not going to send my dog through a side window to grab hold of someone and drag them out of a car, because when you put that to the police, that is going to be excessive force. So I'm going to end up getting put away for that. So actually, a lot of that stuff that happens is not something that you're going to use in your day-to-day basis of being a security dog handler. And that's why a lot of the videos that you've seen on my channel, etc., they may look a little bit boring, or they may look they might not look as interesting or as good as some of the other videos on there. But what my videos show is probably what is going to be the likely outcome in a real life situation. Because like I say, if someone's trying to nick a car, I can't use the dog to drag them out of the car, because that's going to be excessive force. I'm going to end up getting put in prison under a GBH or whatever it is underneath that. And I think that that's one of the issues you also have with the industry, and that's why I've tried to keep my channel as real life as I see it. Is that a lot of people get into this industry and they see the dog with smoke bombs going off, and they're dragging the dogs diving through the passenger window, getting hold of someone and dragging them out. And people think, oh, like if I become a security dog handler, that's gonna be my normal daily routine. And it never happens. And if you do it, you end up getting arrested and banged up inside anyway. And then all of a sudden, so people get into the industry realizing that my videos and sort of my training, etc., is the norm, and they think, well, this is boring. This is not what I signed up for, and they end up leaving. So hopefully, my channel is relatable into the point where if people watch my channel and they watch my training videos and all the stuff that I do, that when they get into the industry, they aren't disappointed to what the actual day-to-day routine of stuff is. Because I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've not had to get my dog out on someone. I've dealt with some people walking across site, but I've dealt with them without the dog. I've not needed the dog. I've had no threat to my safety. I've been able to do it with just myself, which again is lost. So again, it's lost. You have to remember in this job that you are security officer first and you're a dog handler second. If you can deal with a situation without using the dog, then that's all the better, because then they can't turn around and say that you used the dog to threaten them and all that sort of stuff. So I've been doing this for 3 years, and anyone that I've had sort of trespassing on site, etc., I've been able to sort out without using the dog. I've not had to have the dog out in front of me protecting me from someone trying to hurt me, etc. Maybe I've got lucky, probably have got quite lucky, because I know handlers that got into this and within their first couple of weeks was dealing with someone with a knife. So I understand that I've probably been quite lucky. But for the general year-on-year basis, it's going to be quite similar to what I do. And some people find that boring. Some people just like working with the dog and they want to do training with the dog and things like that, and they enjoy the job. Like I've enjoyed, although I've not had a lot of action and I've not had to get my dog out on people and I'm not chasing people across a site, etc. I've still enjoyed the last 3 years because I just enjoy training with the dog, going to work with the dog. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm working, no one walks on site, I'm not having to get into any fights, and I go home, all the better, because that means that I've had a safe shift. I've got no risk of getting banged up. The dog's got no risk of getting put down, and we go home safely, and then we come back the next day. People always say that, I wish there was a little bit more action and different things like that. Well, you say that, but the moment that 3 blokes walk on in balaclavas and baseball bats, you're going to turn around and say, yeah, maybe I don't want more action, because you can't control what that action is going to be. Okay, if one bloke walks on there and he's, I don't know, 5'4", 8 stone, and he's compliant, then that's the ideal. That's kind of, for me, that's kind of like the ideal trespasser on site. Someone that's probably not going to cause me any trouble. Someone that if they do cause me trouble, I'll be able to deal with. And they're probably just going to be compliant. They're going to walk off. That is kind of like the ideal. 3 blokes walk on in balaclavas and baseball bats, all that are 6'4". All of a sudden you're like, I didn't want this kind of action. I wanted something a little bit easier. So you have to be careful as well, as if you want more action, just remember that you can't control what that action is possibly going to be.